Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tang Men based on novel. So let's start. I know that. But I also heard that you expended close to 60% of our stationary soul cannon shells. Is that true? That's true. I can't believe second senior brother betrayed me. Huo Yuhao sighed. Xian Zuan simply gave an emotionless reply. Soul tools are meant to be used anyways. He couldn't have betrayed you in the first place. The most important thing is whether you managed to witness the effects of the explosions. Were the effects up to our expectations? I can't believe you just used over 10,000 stationary soul cannon shells so casually. You really are a failure. Why couldn't you have mixed in some fake shells instead of only using real ones? You know it well enough that it wouldn't have been able to breach the Radiant City's defenses anyways. Huo Yuhao let out an awkward laugh. I didn't think that much back then. The situation was already tense enough. But I admit I was wrong to have used so many shells, Teacher Xian. Xian Zuan waved his hand to dismiss Huo Yuhao's apology. Our stationary soul cannon shells must still be lacking power. The fact that we only expended the energy in their defensive soul tools after firing over 10,000 shells proves that we need to improve our cannon shells. We should at least cause their soul tools to overheat. It really wasn't worth it to fire all of those shells. Anyways, I have recently made some adjustments to our cannon shells. Now, we will start categorizing the different shells we plan to manufacture. How do you plan to categorize them? Huo Yuhao asked curiously. Xian Zuan explained, previously, when we were manufacturing the stationary soul cannon shells in bulk, they were largely built for huge explosions. They would destroy whatever was in their way with high temperature and heat, as well as their explosiveness. Because of this, most of the current protective soul barriers, especially linked defensive barriers, are built to counter the combination of heat, temperature and explosiveness. Just now, Kaitu gave me a report on the events which occurred during the battle. It seems like Tai's effects far exceeded my expectations. Tai was the Class 9 stationary soul cannon shell, which had penetrated the defenses of the Sun Moon Empire's palace. It was also personally designed by Xian Zuan. Hence, I have decided to vary the types of stationary soul cannon shells we will manufacture in the future. We will have shells which will provide range defensive capabilities and penetrative capabilities. To be honest, shells which can penetrate barriers often have better effects. Recently, I have come up with a new stationary soul cannon shell called the clustered piercing shell. Its manufacturing cost is almost twice that of the stationary soul cannon shell you came up with. This was because it requires rare metals to construct. However, you can only imagine how powerful its destructive ability is. Previously, I had already rushed out the first batch of these clustered piercing shells. If you are leaving for an operation again, you can bring some of them along with you. Huo Yuhao said, I am afraid we won't be going anywhere anytime soon. The current situation is not looking good and thus, I have made new plans. Xian Zuan raised his hand to stop Huo Yuhao from continuing. Don't talk to me about what goes on outside. As long as the Tang sect is still around, I will never leave this place. I am only concerned with my own research. As for the other things, the responsibility will lie in all of your hands. Now that you have already become a Class 9 soul engineer, there's nothing left for me to teach you. What you can achieve will depend on how hard you work. I have also heard about the mass manufacturing of human-shaped soul tools in the Sun Moon Empire. Ha ha. This idea might not be as good as it seems. Just give me some time to think about this, and I will let you know what I feel about it. With the current soul tool technology available, even Teacher Kong might not be able to manufacture a human-shaped soul tool without any undesired side effects. Teacher Kong. Who's that? Huo Yuhao asked. Xian Zuan glared at Huo Yuhao and said, he is my teacher. The Hallmaster of the Sun Moon Empire's Hall of Consecration. He is also the most powerful soul engineer in the entire Sun Moon Empire. He is your Grandmaster. I didn't know someone like that existed. You never mentioned him to me before, right? Huo Yuhao was very startled to hear that. Xian Zuan glared at him before reprimanding him. That's not my fault. You can only blame yourself for being dumb. Just use your head to think. As a young man back then who was only a Class 9 Soul Engineer, how could I become the lead researcher at the Virtuous Hall if not for special reasons? They only gave me the title because I was Teacher Kong's disciple. Almost half of the Class 9 Soul Engineers in the Sun Moon Empire have received some sort of guidance from Teacher Kong. In fact, Teacher Kong is so great that I don't even know where his limits lie. He's definitely not weaker than any ultimate Doluo, and should be extremely dangerous. In my opinion, Shu Qianran must have gotten Teacher Kong's support. If not, it would not have been so easy for him to become the emperor. Huo Yuhao started to become a little worried. Even though Teacher Kong was his Grandmaster, he was on the enemy's side. It was definitely not a good thing to have such a strong opponent. Teacher Xian, in that case, I will be beginning my closed-door cultivation. You can work hard, but do remember to take care of your health. Huo Yuhao said. Xian Zuan waved his hand as though he were chasing a fly away. You may take your leave. Next time, if you don't have anything important to say, please don't come and waste my time. Also, you can rest assured that after eating your Chenkuan fortune pills, I won't be dying anytime soon. Now that I think of it, all of you are treating my laboratory as a sweatshop. I am but an oppressed laborer. Huo Yuhao gave an awkward smile and thought to himself. How can any of us force you to do something you don't want to do with that temper of yours? After leaving Xian Zuan's laboratory, Huo Yuhao entered his own laboratory. Even though he had been absent for quite a while, it had been kept clean by the Tang sect staff. Huo Yuhao closed the heavy metallic door and then bolted it. At the same time, he activated the alarm system, which would inform anyone who approached the door about his closed-door cultivation. This was the safest and quietest area within the entire Tang sect. Huo Yuhao walked back and forth within his laboratory, as he tried to tidy up his thought process. Following which, he leapt onto the bench, which he used to build soul tools before sitting down with his legs crossed. I can only allow events outside to unfold by themselves. Without any change to the current situation, the elders in the academy would never change their strategy. I have also done my best when it came to both the Douling Empire and the Star Luo Empire. Now it is up to them to decide what's best for everyone and for themselves. The only thing I can do now is make myself as strong as possible, and turn the tide of the battle at its most crucial moment. I can do it, and must do it. After convincing himself that his decision was correct, Huo Yuhao clenched his fists and slowly closed his eyes. His body started to relax as the soul power in his body began to circulate on its own. When Tang Wutong mentioned his status as the ultimate soldier, Huo Yuhao immediately understood what she meant. His soul power had been stuck at rank 89 for a while, and he had been unable to become a titled Doluo. Even though he was already capable of defeating any normal titled Doluo, becoming a true titled Doluo would still enhance his powers, just as it would for any soul master. The more gifted a soul master was, the greater the enhancement. Furthermore, Huo Yuhao already had his first soul core. Once his second soul core formed, his soul power would be not much different from that of an ultimate Doluo. In the future, his soul power would also improve at an unimaginable rate. Huo Yuhao had actually been accumulating soul power all this while. In fact, he had been doing so for a long time. When he acquired the 8th soul ring of his spirit eyes in the Ice Sea, his spiritual sea had transformed once again, resulting in a huge boost to his spiritual power. Following which, he was influenced by the plants, and improved his understanding of totality. Now, he had fulfilled all the conditions to push for his second soul core. He was definitely not inferior to any rank 98 soul master when it came to his spiritual control. He needed to become stronger in order for his words to weigh more, and for him to possess the ability to better influence the battlefield. This was the plan that Huo Yuhao had finally settled on. An individual's effort might be small, but sometimes, he or she might still be able to turn the tables with his or her own efforts. Even though Huo Yuhao might not be able to do so right now, he might gain the ability to do so if he were to become stronger. Since there were no better options, it would be wisest for him to strengthen and enhance his capabilities. Thus, Huo Yuhao had decided to begin closed-door cultivation. In fact, the way in which he planned to cultivate was a lot different from what Tang Wutong had in mind. In Tang Wutong's opinion, the best way for Huo Yuhao to cultivate his soul core was to use the resonance method. However, Huo Yuhao disagreed with what she felt. He knew that he had to become as strong as someone like the beast god. If he could not compare to Di Tian, there was no way he could succeed on the battlefield. Hence, the only option for him was to tread the same path as Di Tian. In fact, he was aiming to do better than him, to become even stronger than the beast god. After becoming certain of his target, Huo Yuhao allowed the soul power in his body to circulate on its own. He stabilized the soul core, which was near his forehead, as he allowed his spiritual power to circulate around his soul core. Huo Yuhao's soul core was now the center of all of his power. His spiritual power was revolving around the soul core in its immediate orbit. Following which, his soul power circulated around the soul core on an outer orbit. If one were to observe his spiritual sea, one would notice a gigantic rhombus-shaped sun in the center of it. This sun was his soul core. Even though his spiritual power had become so dense that it was almost solid, it continued to revolve around the soul core. Following which, Huo Yuhao prepared to attempt to form his second soul core. According to Elder Xian, the initiating of his second soul core should be fairly simple, after the strenuous initiation of his first soul core. This was because his second soul core would be initiated within the Dantian, the place where his soul power was stored. Hence, it should be a lot easier to construct his soul core there. However, after accumulating his soul power all this while, Huo Yuhao had other thoughts. Even though it was easy to create one soul core in the Dantian, it might not be the most beneficial option for his future development. This was because he was not planning on going for the resonance cultivation method. He wanted to use the yin-yang complement method instead. The term yin-yang complement meant the complementary relationship between opposites. Once he succeeded in the cultivation of his soul core in his Dantian, the two soul cores in his body would circulate the surrounding energy in opposite directions. This would allow them to draw upon each other's strengths and complement one another, just like a pair of gears. His soul power and spiritual power would circulate from his Dantian all the way to his forehead. However, what would happen after Huo Yuhao reached rank 98? Even though by then he might already possess the ability to hold his own against an ultimate Doluo, he would still not be considered as one. In order to reach rank 99 and become an ultimate Doluo, he needed to improve himself with his soul cores as his foundation. This meant that he would have to create a third soul core. If his two soul cores had already occupied the path from his Dantian to his forehead by using the yin-yang complement method, where else could he initiate his third soul core? There were only 3 places where humans could create their soul cores. They were the forehead area between the eyebrows, the chest, and the Dantian. If he were to set up his second soul core in his Dantian, he could forget about creating a third soul core in his chest. In order to do that, he would have to first cut off the connection between his two soul cores. And that would be tantamount to suicide. This also meant that if Huo Yuhao decided to create his second soul core in his Dantian, he would have no chance of creating a third soul core. No matter how strong he eventually became, he would never be considered a true ultimate Doluo. In other words, he would not be able to inherit the god of emotion's godly seat. Hence, Huo Yuhao had long decided to not only create his soul core with the yin-yang complement method, but also create it at his chest area. This allowed him to create his third soul core in his Dantian in the future. When the time arrived, his third soul core would only face interference from the soul core in his chest. Ice Empress, are you there? Huo Yuhao was trying to communicate with the Ice Empress inside him. Yes? Is there a problem? The Ice Empress voice rang inside him. Huo Yuhao said, I'm going to start on my second soul core and push for title Doluo. I was thinking of using the yin-yang complement method to achieve that. I might need to trouble you to help me with that. This is because my body contains your Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso bone, and your power is strongest in my chest area, the area where I plan to create my second soul core. For my second soul core, I plan to use our ultimate Ice soul power as the main force to create it. If my plan succeeds, my first soul core would control my spiritual power, while my second soul core would control my soul power. Both my soul cores would complement one another, and allow both soul power and spiritual power to communicate with one another, forming a perfect fusion between these powers. This would allow my soul skills and abilities to possess both powers simultaneously. After hearing what Huo Yuhao said, the Ice Empress went silent before sighing. Do you know how hard this is going to be? Huo Yuhao said, I don't know how hard it will be. But regardless of its difficulty, I plan to give it a try. Do you think you can help me? The Ice Empress said, Of course I am going to help you. I must say you are truly extremely gifted and very intelligent. The path you are choosing to tread is probably the most extreme of methods among those who possess ultimate ice, or even among all cultivators in the world. Such extreme cultivation methods will often give you endless potential. Huo Yuhao did not expect the Ice Empress to shower him with praise after expressing her doubts at his chances of success. The Ice Empress said, In the world of soul beasts, all those who possess true wisdom and powerful abilities chose the path you plan to take. However, only one, Di Qian, has succeeded. That is why he is the strongest soul beast in the world. Huo Yuhao was startled by her words. Does that mean you have actually tried this approach? The Ice Empress said, No. I don't have the right conditions to attempt this. This was because I had not attained what was equivalent to the human's ultimate Dolua rank, and was not able to construct my second soul ring. However, the Snow Empress actually tried it before. Snow Empress! Huo Yuhao exclaimed in excitement. Following which, the Snow Empress' voice could be heard. Yes. I have tried it before. If I had actually succeeded, I would not have feared Di Qian at all. My abilities would be at least on par with his. However, I failed. My origin was heavily damaged, and I lost the ability to push for higher powers. Hence, I could only choose to transform into an embryo, something which you have fortuitously benefited from. Huo Yuhao did not know that the Snow Empress had such an eventful life before meeting him. After hearing her story, he was exhilarated. If the Snow Empress had tried it before, she must possess some valuable experience. Right now, nothing was more important and valuable than experience. The Snow Empress said, I have tried it before, so I know better than others how difficult this path is going to be. Di Qian did not succeed, because his determination and resilience were stronger than mine, but because his Golden Eyes Black Dragon King's body was sufficiently tough. In order to complete the yin-yang complement cultivation method, one has to split one's spiritual power and soul power completely before fusing them together again. This will take an enormous toll on one's body, and requires an incredible degree of control. Your current spiritual power should be sufficient for you to meet the second condition. However, because you are but human, the strength of your body would never be able to compare to us soul beasts. We, as soul beasts, choose not to use the resonance cultivation method, because the structure of our bodies does not allow us to do that. Our circulation passageways are built very differently from yours, and we do not possess such good acupoints. Hence, we only have 2 places to create our soul cores. This limitation is why we will never be able to become a god. And these 2 positions will not allow any resonance to occur. This forces us to choose the yin-yang complement method. Yuhao, are you sure you really want to do this? If you fail, you will have to suffer very serious consequences. Huo Yuhao answered without any hesitation. No matter what, I am going to give it a try. If I succeed, we will have set up a good foundation for my eventual development into a god. If I fail... He suddenly paused for a short while before continuing with an even more determined tone. I will not fail unless I die. Without the courage and determination to go all out, how could a human stand any chance of breaking the barrier of mortality? A heavy silence fell upon the room as both the Snow Empress and the Ice Empress went quiet. After a short while, the Snow Empress replied solemnly, In that case, we will bet our lives on you. All 6 of us will help you. I don't believe that you can still fail with all of our help. Yuhao, just focus on your own cultivation later. Don't care about us and what we will do later. We will put in our best, and leave no what ifs behind. Okay. Huo Yuhao nodded and closed his eyes. Instead of starting immediately, Huo Yuhao began to adjust his psychological state. Success was only possible if he was in the best state of mind. When it came to such crucial moments, it was always good to be patient, and to make sure all preparations were done properly. Streaks of light started to leave his body. The first ones to emerge from his body were the Snow Empress and the Ice Empress. They were the 2 strongest spirits among the 6 of them. Following which, the Star Anise Mysterious Ice Grass, Little Bai, the Skydream Iceworm, and Leah appeared one by one. The 6 spirits gathered around Huo Yuhao's body. The Snow Empress looked at the other 5 spirits before saying, I believe you have all heard what Yuhao has said. While this closed-door cultivation is extremely important for him, it is equally important for all of us. We have been using his body as a foundation to continue living. If anything were to happen to him, all of us would be in trouble too. If he succeeds, we will have succeeded as well. Hence, I need everyone to help him overcome this challenge at all costs together. Don't worry about expending our energy, because once he succeeds, he will be able to use the new soul core formed from this yin-yang complement method for our benefit. In addition, just as he has already mentioned, his success would be a huge step forward in our journey to become gods with him. This is a common goal which we all share after becoming his spirits. The 5 other spirits nodded in unison. The Skydream Iceworm was visibly excited as he said, That's great. I've been waiting for this day for so long. Now that Yuhao is finally going to make a huge step in that direction, I will definitely support him with my life. The Ice Empress glanced at him and said, Skydream, I need to warn you to not use all of your power to help him. You already fused your origin with him less time. I need you to tone it down a little bit this time around. Trust us. We can do it. The Skydream Iceworm was startled to hear the Ice Empress words. He looked over to the Ice Empress, only to see her turn away immediately. The Snow Empress was frustrated by his actions as she said, What are you looking at? She is worried about you. Isn't that enough? The Skydream Iceworm's body started to tremble, but he did not tease anyone with his words. He simply nodded to acknowledge the Snow Empress words. The Star Anise Mysterious Ice Grass shook its leaves gently to express its support. Among the 6 different spirits, it was probably the weakest. The Snow Empress continued, The new soul core that Yuhao plans to create with the yin-yang complement is going to be of the ultimate ice type. Under such circumstances, we will require an enormous amount of ultimate ice energy. Leah, I need you to assist Yuhao to stabilize the spiritual soul core in his spiritual sea. If need be, delay its interference on the work on our side. Leah nodded. Even though she had only joined not too long ago, as a mermaid princess, she possessed wisdom which exceeded that of an average human. She naturally understood the gravity of the situation. The Snow Empress continued to delegate work as she announced, Skydream, you will assist Li Ya, as your origin is infused with his. It will be easier for you to help coordinate things there. At the same time, I need you to keep watch on his body's situation. We must not allow his body to fail. Do you understand? The Skydream Iceworm nodded. The Snow Empress raised the Ice Empress hand and said, The Ice Empress will be anchoring our efforts today. This is because Huo Yuhao plans to create his soul core at his chest area, the area where the Ice Empress Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso bone is. While I will assist the Ice Empress, I need Little Bai and Star Anise to join us, because all 4 of us possess ultimate ice soul power. We will work together to help Yuhao form his soul core. Star Anise, you will be in charge of stabilizing the process. Little Bai, you will protect Yuhao's body while we form the soul core. The Ice Empress and I will be moving his soul power towards his chest. Roger. The 3 ultimate ice spirits replied in unison. In just a few lines, the Snow Empress was able to arrange everything properly. The Snow Empress took one last look at the 5 other spirits before saying, "We can only succeed. If all else fails, we don't. We must work together to make it happen." "Yes." The 5 spirits cheered. The Snow Empress came to Huo Yuhao's side and patted his shoulder gently. "Thank you, Snow Empress." Huo Yuhao had heard the entire conversation between his 6 spirits. When he opened his eyes, it was possible to see the fog radiating within his pupils. The Snow Empress smiled and said, "What are you thanking me for? Your body is no longer only yours. It now belongs to all of us. If all 7 of us put our minds to the task, I am sure there's nothing we can't achieve. However, before you begin, I will recommend that you get the Life Guardian blade back. Its copious amount of life energy should be beneficial for you." Previously, when Di Qian formed his second soul core with the yin-yang complement, he did it next to the Lake of Life, which was full of life energy. I believe it will definitely be of good use. Huo Yuhao's eyes lit up after hearing her suggestion. That's right. How could I have forgotten about the Life Guardian blade? Now that teacher Xiao Ya is starting to recover, she will have no use for it. Instead, it could turn out to be very useful for me. Huo Yuhao immediately leapt off the bench and ran out to look for Tang Ya. The 6 spirits stayed where they were instead of following him. After all, he would only be a short distance away from them. It was okay for them to leave his side for a short while. The Snow Empress whispered into the Ice Empress' ear. After hearing what she had to say, the Ice Empress' face revealed a look of disbelief. She turned to look at the Snow Empress and said, "You." The Snow Empress smiled as her eyes showed the pride she had in her heart. "Even though I was not able to succeed back then, I must help Yuhao succeed at all costs." The Ice Empress nodded gently. "Snow Empress, I understand now." The Snow Empress started to blush. "What do you understand?" The Ice Empress burst into laughter. "I'm not going to say what I understand." While they were chatting with one another, Huo Yuhao returned with the Life Guardian blade. Since it had absorbed the life gold brought out by the golden tortoise, the Life Guardian blade had transformed into the Life Guardian sword. Its jade green body radiated dense life energy. After Huo Yuhao closed the door, the entire laboratory was filled with the dense life energy radiated by the sword. Even though the life energy was mainly useful for Huo Yuhao, it was also able to nourish the spiritual sense of the 6 spirits. Their faces revealed satisfied expressions. The Snow Empress nodded towards Huo Yuhao and said, "Let's get ready. I will share my experience with you so that you can avoid making the same mistakes I did. You just have to follow what I say." "All right." Huo Yuhao was pretty much done with his mental preparation. He was in his best possible form, while being nourished by the dense life energy released by the Life Guardian sword. After crossing his legs, Huo Yuhao placed the Life Guardian sword across his knees. He closed his eyes and allowed his soul power to circulate through the mysterious Heaven Technique's circulation path. Huo Yuhao had been stuck at rank 89 for a fairly long period of time. Even though he had been unable to make a breakthrough, he had not stopped cultivating with Tang Wutong. Hence, he had soul power in abundance. After beginning to circulate his soul power, Huo Yuhao's body seemed to contain huge waves, which rippled through him. His soul power was extremely viscous, and had a very firm texture. After circulating his soul power for a single round, his soul power started to circulate in endless succession on its own as his spiritual power grew richer and fuller. When his soul power neared his head, it would be attracted by the soul core, revolving and being compressed around it. His 6 spirits all returned to his body. Leah and the Sky Dream Iceworm were keeping watch over his spiritual sea, while the other 4 spirits went to his chest to sense the transformation of his soul power. The Snow Empress voice rang out in Huo Yuhao's head. "Yuhao, the first thing you need to do is extract your soul power from your soul core. You should only leave your spiritual power in your soul core." "Okay." Huo Yuhao acknowledged her instructions as he circulated his soul power. He was trying to draw away the soul power compressed about the soul core near his forehead. This was not an easy task. After all, there was only so much his body could take. After obtaining his first soul core, it had been helping him to compress his soul power, allowing him to possess more. After drawing out the soul power, it would flood into his passageways. Very soon, his passageways would become engorged, leaving no space for the soul power to go. Yuhao, continue and do not stop, the Snow Empress reminded Huo Yuhao. At the same time, Huo Yuhao could sense a slight trembling in the bones around his chest and back. Those bones started to radiate a jade-green glow. The huge amount of soul power stored in his body was being absorbed by the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso bone. As his soul power entered the torso bone, space was being created within his passageways. Huo Yuhao was elated after he began to understand what the Ice Empress and Snow Empress were up to. He did not dare to become complacent, as he rapidly controlled the compressed soul power, which was leaving the spiritual soul core between his eyebrows. Everything seemed to be going very smoothly. It was normal for soul masters to expend soul power, especially during battles. Because his spiritual soul core was mainly housing his spiritual energy, his highly condensed spiritual energy was closest to it. After his soul power was drawn out from the spiritual soul core, his spiritual soul core became a lot livelier. His spiritual chi started to circulate rapidly, as his spiritual energy was released. Usually, the released spiritual energy would naturally attract the origin energy of heaven and earth. This energy would transform into Huo Yuhao's soul power after it was absorbed into his body. This soul power would then be consumed to make up for the soul power expended earlier. This was why soul cores were so powerful. As long as their owner gave them enough time, they could help their owners recover their soul power without requiring them to meditate. However, it was apparent that Huo Yuhao currently did not need his soul core to help him regenerate soul power. A faint layer of white light formed over Huo Yuhao's skin. It was set up by the Sky Dream Iceworm. Sky Dream was the one who had the deepest understanding of Huo Yuhao's body. When Huo Yuhao first met the Sky Dream Iceworm, he had fused with it, and made it his first soul ring. Back then, Huo Yuhao was still like a blank piece of paper. Throughout all these years, as Huo Yuhao developed his powers, the Sky Dream Iceworm had been watching over his development. Hence, he was extremely familiar with his body and its situation. Before the Snow Empress instructed him to do so, Sky Dream had already done the right thing, which was to draw away Huo Yuhao's spiritual power and block off all connection between Huo Yuhao's spiritual soul core and the surrounding origin energy of heaven and earth. This would prevent the energy from going near his soul core and transforming into new soul power. This naturally made the spiritual energy released by the soul core a lot stronger. The resistance from its surroundings became the force which drove its circulation. At that instant, Leah also made her move. She wrapped her gentle spiritual power around the soul core to slow down the speed it was revolving at. It was vital for her to suppress it to a small extent. Meanwhile, Huo Yuhao was trying his best to extract the compressed soul power from his soul core. The backlash from the soul core started after Huo Yuhao had extracted more than 70% of the compressed soul power. The powerful attractive force of his soul core made the spiritual barrier set up by the Sky Dream Iceworm tremble. Even though Leah was trying her best to restrain the soul core, she only managed to reduce its attractive force by the slightest bit. This was the power of a soul core. Once it was formed, it became the source of the Soul Master's power. How could it be suppressed so easily? Huo Yuhao was an extremely resilient person. Even though he started to feel some resistance around his soul core, he did not plan to give up or change his plans as he continued to extract his compressed soul power to the best of his ability. This was the moment when the mermaid princess started to show her strength. Instead of slowing the rotation of the soul core, her primary objective was to keep it stable. This would allow Huo Yuhao to fully focus on the extraction of his soul power, instead of having to divert his attention to his soul core. An unstable soul core was likely to explode. Even though it had already become a soul core, and was fairly resistant, Huo Yuhao's endless extracting, which did not give it any chance to recover soul power, could still affect the soul core. He was supposed to expend his energy to protect and stabilize it. However, he was fortunate to have Leah around to help him with that. The Sky Dream Iceworm had also greatly enhanced the diversion of Huo Yuhao's spiritual power, as he ensured that his power did not come into contact with his surroundings. At this instant, no one dared to slack off, as they put in their best to ensure the process could proceed smoothly. As the minutes ticked away, Huo Yuhao could sense the increasingly intense trembling of his spiritual sea under the pressure from his soul core. It was trying its best to release spiritual energy, to replenish the soul power which he had drawn away. In the meantime, Leah was doing her best to envelop the soul core and keep it still. The Sky Dream iceworm continued to wrap itself around Huo Yuhao's body as it tried to prevent his spiritual energy from coming into contact with his surroundings. On the other hand, the 4 ultimate ice spirits were more relaxed. The Ice Empress was busier, because she was using the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso bone to absorb the soul power being drawn out by Huo Yuhao. This was the time when everyone could appreciate the true strength of the Ice Jade Empress Scorpion's torso bone. It had absorbed close to 50% of Huo Yuhao's soul power. Even then, it did not seem like it was reaching full capacity anytime soon. It merely took on a greener color, without giving Huo Yuhao a bloated sensation. With the help of his 6 spirits, it had been relatively easy for Huo Yuhao so far. He had not faced any difficulty or challenge with the entire process. As the torso bone started to absorb more soul power, the soul power fluctuations became greater. This resulted in an increasingly violent soul core. Leah was already starting to struggle with it. Controlling the spiritual soul core was the equivalent of facing off with Huo Yuhao's insanely superior spiritual power. Yuhao, control your soul core. Slow it down, the Ice Empress advised. With just a signal from his intent, Huo Yuhao's soul core immediately came under his control. The violent soul core stabilized instantly. Leah was released from her task, as she took a break in his spiritual sea. Now that Huo Yuhao was busy trying to control his spiritual soul core, he could no longer focus his energy on moving his soul power. Right now, he was trying to suppress the innate ability of his soul core. The result of suppressing a soul core was a greater retaliation from it. It would try to put up a fight against the restraining powers placed on it. An incredibly powerful attractive force suddenly formed in his dantian, and extracted the last bit of ultimate ice soul power from his soul core. This force was naturally provided by the Snow Empress. She had finally made her move. Huo Yuhao could sense a rhombus-shaped ice crystal appearing within his dantian. It possessed an extremely strong attractive force, which drew in all of his soul power. During the process of attraction, it was actually able to compress his soul power, just like a soul core. This video will end here.